welcome to another episode of the Principled Minds. It is a joy to be back here with you all again. And this time, for the second time in a row, we're going to be doing a live podcast. And I wanted to really give you an opportunity to get a sense of how these episodes are recorded with our special guests. And so this is our second live show that we're hosting here, and I'm incredibly excited to be embarking on this journey with you, and to most importantly, be having a conversation with our guest today. Before we get started, we really want to, start by thanking our very first sponsor. Our sponsor today, or for this particular episode, is Eschaton Consulting. Is a minority-owned professional services firm that helps organizations modernize technology, strengthen processes, and develop people to deliver purpose-driven, measurable results for their clients. And so, if you're looking for an organization that is really dedicated to, ensuring that your operations are structured, you're modernized, and you're creating systems that would really help your business or your organization run effectively, Eschaton is definitely the consultant firm to refer to. So if you have any questions at all, just send an email to principledmind@gmail.com. If you're interested in Eschaton, we can have a conversation about getting you connected with them. All right. So with that being said, our special guest today is someone that I respect very deeply, someone that I have known for probably about 5 years, because I've known her since her time at an organization that I also deeply respect, AGA, and had an opportunity to work with her as well. So I'm incredibly excited to have her on the show, to have a conversation with us about really how to turn your vision to reality, building what you believe. She has quite an experience with turning vision to reality, turning strategy to insights and outcomes. And I'm incredibly excited to have her here. Melina has led financial modernization and risk transformation across major federal agencies, and she's known for aligning vision, people, and systems to create real, measurable change. So without any further ado, please join me in welcoming our guest here, who is the CEO and founder of Brookshire Advisory Group, Melina Brookshire. Melina, welcome to the show.
Good to be here. I liked how you started off addressing your people. Your people are now my people. Now we're all
our people at this point.
Our people who will be listening or who are listening right now. So that.
Yes. It is such, you don't even understand how excited I am to actually be sharing this virtual space with you. But tell us what has made you smile in the past 7 days. I want to know what has put a smile on your face when you reflect on how this week has been so far. What has put a smile on your face?
Well, a couple of things. Definitely was excited to be joining this podcast. As we were talking about, it's unscripted. I love going unscripted, right? And in a lot of my roles, I don't always have the opportunity to go unscripted for a lot of good reason. So when I can, I definitely lean into that. So that's been very exciting. Another thing that's made me smile, I do love the holiday season, the lights, the celebrations, the gathering, the community. So that's been really exciting for me, being around family and friends and just honoring each other and celebrating each other. So this season, the Christmas season, is definitely one that makes me smile.
I love that. It's just such a beautiful time. If you're looking for a time where you can just sit back, kick your legs up, and just have a wonderful time with family, this is the season. There's no other time to do it. I mean, you can do it. You can really find times to do it, but there's just something about the Christmas period or the holiday time that just makes a difference. So yes. I completely understand. All right, so I'd really love to start my episodes with gratitude, and that's why that's really the first question, because there are a lot of things that happen on our day to day, and it's helpful to be able to just sit back and really think about some of the things you're grateful for, and bring that to the forefront of really any conversation that you're going into. So really love to start the episodes with that. Let's talk about your background. So you recently launched a company or a business called Wilshire Advisory Group. However, that's not how your career started. For a lot of people that are out there that are in the process or in the journey of starting something, they have a vision, an idea of something that they want to start, but are going through moments of doubt where they don't believe it's possible, or they've heard a number of things from people on why they shouldn't start it or why it would be difficult and impossible for them to consider. I want us to learn about what your journey was leading up to starting Brookshire Advisory Group, so that people can appreciate that everyone's journey is different. And there are moments when those doubts would definitely surface, but we have an ability to either allow the doubts control the decisions that we make that impacts the progress that we make and that we have in our life, or we control the doubts and tell the doubts, hey, listen, I'm going to take charge of you, acknowledge that you exist, but still move forward. And everyone's journey to making that happen looks very different. I would love to have a conversation with you on really how your journey started. So if you can just take us back on what your vision when you first started your career was, and some of the key moments in your life that has been helpful to getting you ready for the position that you have today. That would be great. Loaded question, but I hope you get the context.
That's a lot to unpack. So I appreciate you saying, your background and pivotal moments in my life, because I'm going to take us all the way back.
Let's do it.
All the way back. And when we think about, really digging deep to find the courage to start or restart or build something that doesn't exist. My mom loves to tell this story about me. I was about 3 or 4 years old, and we had gone to an event. I was dressed up very fancy for this event, ruffled dress, fancy shoes, the whole thing. And my mother I have 2 older sisters. She loved dressing us up generally. And so we had gone to this event. We had come home and we had invited some family back to our home just to fellowship and spend time together. And I'm still in this dress. And I couldn't wait to get home to go outside and play, because I was and still am a very adventurous and outgoing person. And as I'm making my way out the door, still very dressed up, one of my aunts said, hey, you might need to change. You can't go outside like that. You're going to get all dirty. And so I thought about that for less than half a second. And I looked at my mom and I said, I can go outside and play, right? I can just clean up afterward if I get dirty. And my mother looked at me and she said, of course you can. And in that moment, right, she validated who I was as a person and who I still am today. And I'm still that little girl who is okay with things that are a little messy. I'm okay with the uncertainty that comes with growth, with the discomfort that comes with growth, as long as it leads to somewhere meaningful. And that day, what was meaningful was going outside to play without hesitation. I don't need to change. I can just do that and I'll come back and I'll do whatever. But I'm comfortable stepping into the complexity, whether it's, systems or culture or building something new. Because sometimes it's in that complexity where the real building can happen. So when I think about, what I would share, about building something new, whether it's been in organizations that I have worked for or with, and now stepping out and building something of my own, it's going back to what feels like your core, right? Who are you? Or and that changes over time, but there are some things that just feel very fundamental. So I am, when I think about that, it reflects my principles. And I did think about that a bit before joining this podcast, right? The courage to explore is really important to me. the autonomy to decide my own path, right? That's important. Humility, right? Things can be and are messy, and it might not work out how you want, and you might not have the right clothes or shoes, right? Proverbial clothes or shoes in the moment, but do it anyway. So my career has been about that balance of staying polished when I need to be polished, also not being afraid of discomfort and uncertainty. So when I, think about those who are, to your question, thinking about taking a leap, it really is a lot of times being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And that takes practice. It takes practice. The more you do something, the easier it gets. I'm a firm believer of that. So the more you get okay with being uncomfortable and knowing that on the other side, it tends to work out. Might not look how you thought it will, but in that reflection, you're able to say, aha, that was the lesson, or that was the betterment. So it's really digging deep, going to the core.
I love that. Now, you did mention a really good point about the permission and validation your mother gave you when you were much younger, and how that has helped you and from a mindset perspective to navigate your life even now, as you go through different phases of your career. What do you think would have happened if you never got that validation? I wonder. Have you ever wondered that?
I probably would have asked more questions, like, why? Are you sure? I don't know that I would have really, or I probably would have then gone to my dad, who would have absolutely given me the validation. I would have found it. I do, it's a good question. I do give myself permission to explore. And I think that that's something that is helpful to others, right? Sometimes, to your point, you might not find the external validation. Now, at that time and age, that was important. But it is important to know how to give yourself permission, and help yourself get in alignment, right? When something when you feel like there's alignment, and to have that clarity, it is important to be able to find the permission for yourself. And I've definitely done that. I value, like I said, the autonomy to create my own path.
Yeah.
And doing that has definitely made it necessary for me to give myself permission that for things that either others aren't comfortable with or just cannot see, right? Visioning is something, you can't give other people your vision. That doesn't happen, but you can be an influencer and an inspiration to help people want to align with your vision.
So I'm hearing courage to explore. I'm hearing humility. I'm hearing the ability to really give yourself permission, right? Because validation, yes, you might want to get it from people that you trust and people that you love, because there's this certain level of confidence that you have when you know that the people that you really care about their opinion and the people that care about you are fully in support of what you're doing. However, for a lot of people, that's not the reality. Sometimes those very loved ones are not even there anymore, and they have to figure out for themselves what their why is and how they can really navigate their career and give themselves that motivation and validation that they need to move on. So really appreciate those thoughts. Now, I want to really dive into your progression. So talk to us about when you really got into the government space. And if you can start by sharing what your vision for your career was when you made that transition, if you could remember. And what I'm trying to paint here is a picture of really when you realize that you've gotten a vision that you need to invest time and resources in, because we have a lot of interest. A lot of us are very interested in a lot of things, especially if you're a go-getter and someone as ambitious as you are, you have interests, right? But how do you differentiate interest from vision, right? And how do you know when to invest in it? And I'm curious to know what that was like for you when you started your career in government.
Yeah. When I think back, I've had a lot of defining moments. after grad school,
Mm-hmm.
I had a few different offers. Two really stuck out to me. Both were with the Securities and Exchange Commission. My background, is in engineering turned math turned econ. So I have that very technical background, and it really does shape the way I think and build today.
Mm-hmm.
But after I left grad school, I had two paths, two options. One was very clear. I could go with the Securities and Exchange Commission's investment um, uh, management office, a clear path to Wall Street finance. Like, it was very clear. It was all sort of laid out. This is a way. The other option was to in two different offices, two different leadership teams. The other option was help the SEC stand up its first strategic planning office. Never been done before. Only a few people. I would be one of them in helping stand up this office, define it, work with programs across the nation, across the enterprise, and create something that had never been created before.
Mm-hmm.
Without hesitation. It didn't take me very long. And I did have a few mentors who were saying, this is a clear path for you, right? Like, you could go this way, investment management, you got that easy. And without hesitation, I wanted to build. So very early on, I was choosing the path to innovate, to engineer the future, right? A little play on words, but I was interested in building. And it was in that moment of clarity and decision that then set a path. And from that moment, almost a little more than 20 years ago, I have chosen to build ever since. I have chosen the path of uncertainty. I have chosen the path that isn't just managing the status quo. I've continued to do that. And so there was just that alignment. It was autonomy. It was the ability to influence change. It was the ability to build something that didn't exist. It was the ability to have that vision of, I'm not sure necessarily what it will look like, but I know that I have the flexibility to make it be what I think it could be, along with my colleagues and other experts and my mentors, and really just making sure to take advantage of that. So that is the moment, that sort of pivot. And to your point, and because I like to vision and I like to build, yes, I have 1,000 ideas at one time. And I love to pontificate on all of them with myself, with other people. But then there comes a time to move.
Yeah.
And so in creating those visions and making them a reality, it really is, the systems that I put in place. I think it's the book, Atomic Habits. I know people sort of quote that book a lot, but there's a lot there around people can have goals, right? And it's not the big goals that differentiate people who have success or prosperity. It's those who build systems to achieve those goals that make the difference.
Yes.
And so I am very intentional about that, about when I know I want to work out the next day, I put my bag out by the door the night before, because then I have built a system to help me get there. And that's sort of a day-to-day example, but it really is consistent with how I move through the world in my career.
You mentioned something that was interesting. So when you had those two opportunities, some of the things that seems like actions you took were to connect with mentors, to validate maybe your thoughts or your thinking process, to make a decision. Why was that important for you? why couldn't you make that decision yourself and proceed with whatever it is that comes to mind for you? Why did you need to seek,
Yeah,
I don't want to say validation, but
sure.
what was important about that
Mm.
process in your decision making?
Yeah, definitely. I have learned that people who are close to you, and close can look a lot of different ways. People that have known you for many years, people that you've worked with, close friends, family, colleagues. Um, People are able to see things in you that you might not be able to see yourself, right? Um, and so there's that portion of it, of making sure, sometimes when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, or who you want to be or who you're building to be, you might not see some of the real things about yourself, good or bad, but definitely those things that really resonate with people and that really stick with people as it relates to leadership or inspiring others or leading others, right?
Mhm,
So there's
mhm.
that. The other thing is, I like to call them, people who are like my pocket advisors, who I do respect and trust, and I see them move through life and career, and their resilience, right, and failures and successes. And so it has always been important for me to get insights from them, not only in what they see in me, and about me, but also through their lived experience, because there have always been things that I'm able to take and leverage and lean into to help me make decisions.
I see. I see. All right. So you have served as, CFO of AmeriCorps, still serve as CFO of AmeriCorps, and have held financial leadership roles at EPA and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Um, I wonder, from your perspective, how do you define vision in your work as a public servant leader, or public sector leader? And as you talk about what that definition means, what are some of the key components you think people should keep in mind as they gain clarity in their vision before they take action?
Yeah. So vision for me, what a lot of what people don't see is, and what is central to me about having a vision and then implementing a vision, is the stillness in how I lead myself, um, and in how I lead others. So I, for almost 15 years now, I'm a certified yoga instructor. And I say that because it really has taught me a lot about listening to myself, my physical self and my emotional self, resetting, alignment, right? That sort of balance and inner harmony. So a lot of what I do in meditating and prayer and journaling, there's a lot there where
Mhm.
I pull from, to help regulate myself and then in turn help to lead others. So in my visioning, I'm very intentional about taking the time, to have that stillness. It's really sort of the infrastructure,
Mhm.
for me, for courage and decision making and visioning. And that infrastructure is important. I spend a lot of time nurturing that infrastructure and caring for it. And so when I think about visioning, it really is about making sure that, like I mentioned, those repeatable systems, those systems that I put in place that help me achieve a vision. And some of those systems include stewardship, how I treat resources, my own personal resources, my time, my energy, and how
Mhm.
I treat other people and my teams. And then the real resources that I'm entrusted to get things done. So stewardship is really important in treating all of those systems like they matter, in the short term and the long term. And then also envisioning, it's not just about building my own vision, advancing my own career, but a big part of my visioning is how do I build that capacity in others, particularly the teams that work with me and that I work with. How do I build capacity, sharing what I know, being honest about what I don't know, and learning about what I don't know. So all of that comes into play. The systems, my own internal system, external systems, the people, the teams, and then making sure that I'm treating all of that with care, so that they work for me now and later.
You've mentioned systems a couple of times, and I want to actually, dive a little bit deeper into that. If you could share with us on a macro level, if that's something you're open to sharing, what your vision was assuming the role of CFO of AmeriCorps, and maybe tactfully on a very macro level on what you can share again, how you were able to actually establish systems to make progress to turning that vision to reality. This is really going to be helpful for, myself, or even someone listening who has a vision of something. They have clarity on what it is, right? And you've shared some principles and some things for folks to consider as they think about bringing about clarity in your vision. But really how to operationalize the execution of that, so that it becomes reality, or so that you see some type of progress turning that vision into reality. We'd love to use your experiences to bring that to life a little bit.
Yeah. So when I, on my path to becoming CFO, and when I took the position as CFO, I took the position knowing that I was walking into a very complex environment, a very complex circumstance. A lot that needed to be built, rebuilt, and cared for. And I did have a few mentors who were like, "Are you sure? Right? That's the path you want to take." And no, not really. But what I do know is, right, I'm never certain about the outcome. But what I do know is that I had the vision and the clarity to know this is another builder's path for me. And this is another path for growth. And so I'm going to take it. And so when I think about, as you mentioned, how to then take that vision of knowing that I was coming in to build, rebuild, and care for, and then what did that look like? And there are a few things that that I did. So one was really just to name it, to name it. So I knew I knew there were lots of operational deficiencies, right? And so in the first few months, I spent just listening and watching. And I literally wrote down, I think I called it, the 5 biggest rocks. Like what are the really big boulders that are getting in the way of getting something done? So because I knew I was there to rebuild and care for and build new what didn't exist, that was really important. So if the vision is fuzzy, execution will be chaotic. So I typically do start by forcing some clarity, and it doesn't mean it will be complete. That's hard to do when you're walking into something new. But you can get clarity on a few solid things that are either obvious, right? And obvious in a way that you see what's broken or you see what needs rebuilding, or through working with and talking with people, they can bring out some of the things the challenges that they're facing. So I do try to force some clarity around the problem, what we're solving and for whom, and what success is going to look like. Right. Literally, the next 6 months and the next 12 months. So there's that. And then there are identifying the things that, yes, systems, whether it's processes or making sure to understand what's working and what's not, to address those big things. And if if the system is only working when the best person is online at midnight, that is not a system, right? That is not
It's
functioning.
not. Yes.
But, we see it all the time, right?
Yeah.
But so it's important to identify and design the things, the processes, the tech, the roles that make the right thing a little easier to do. Like, as I mentioned, if I know I'm going to go work out early in the morning, I'm going to make that easy for myself. I'm going to do as much as I can beforehand so that all I got to do is walk out the door. The other thing is really aligning people early. And that's something that is invaluable. And you don't have to align all the people early, because that will never happen. You'll never align all the people. But if you can align the right people or a good handful of people early, that's important. I invest a lot of time up front, getting to the people who will help co-design the vision. I'm really good at visioning. I'm really good at sharing a vision, but that does no good if I don't have co-signers and co-designers. So that is something, another really key element. And then the other thing I'll say is really protecting the energy, protecting my energy. Big vision requires a lot of self-regulation. I make better decisions when I'm grounded. I make better decisions when I have clarity, and giving yourself permission to do that. I remember early in my career, I had a boss who, at the time, I was on fire. I was in my mid-20s. I was like doing all the things early, on time, fast. I had all the answers. And if anyone wanted to know the answer, I give it to them.
You got it.
And I had a boss and a mentor who saw this happening. And she said, in the most graceful way, you don't have to respond immediately all the time. And I remember when she said that, I was thinking, what? Yes. What do you mean? Like, yes, I do, because I have the answer. And then why would I delay? And, that's where that stillness comes from.
Yes.
That brief pause can make all the difference. And so I've really learned to value that.
That is amazing. So you mentioned naming it, right? Gaining clarity, designing process, aligning people early, and protecting energy. Very critical principles to keep in mind as you're in the process of operationalizing your vision so that you can actually make it a reality. What would you say were some of the greatest challenges you faced in making any of these principles stick, especially when you're going through, when you have a grand vision and you have a number of people that are going to have to be involved in turning that vision into reality, especially for an organization as large as AmeriCorps? What were some of the challenges that you think people could face as they're in that journey of operationalizing their vision to make that reality? Especially as you think about some of the principles you've shared: clarity, naming it, designing the process, aligning people, protecting your energy. Which ones were the most difficult to actually implement as you went through that process?
Yeah, for sure. I would say one that requires the most discipline is the one that I shared last about protecting your energy. That requires a lot of discipline, for myself, and for others who are very sort of high functioning, right?
Yeah.
And very ambitious and have a lot of commitment. That the discipline to self-regulate and protect your energy can be the most challenging. And it's interesting how, right, the one thing you have the most control over, because the other things that I'll come back to about aligning people and being and having that clarity, sometimes that can be a little bit out of your control. So it's funny how the one thing that we are closest to can be the most challenging thing. So I would say that. And so really get clear about the things that drain you and the things that fulfill you, and remove as much as you can the things that are draining your energy. And that won't happen overnight. And sometimes it takes a lot of reflection, to be honest, about what's draining, right? The activities that are draining, and do more of what is fulfilling and feels aligned. And in doing that, that can be very helpful. So making sure to really self-regulate and be honest. I start every morning with meditation and prayer. Like it is sort of rote, like it's my routine. I center myself, I align myself, I get real clear about how I'm feeling, what I'm planning for the day, before anything else, before emails, before anything, usually before the sun comes up. And so just get really clear in grounding yourself. That usually is the one thing, because again, when you're really high functioning and you're determined, it's easy to get swept away, and it's easy for you to sweep through all the things
Absolutely,
without having a real sense of awareness. So that number one. The other thing is, when you're really clear, having that clarity up front about naming the issues, naming the big rocks. There's a lot of discomfort in naming. And maybe not for yourself, but for others.
Yes.
So you're naming it for yourself. One, you're being honest about, yep, these are the issues. These are the things that we need to break through. These are the things that we need to build or rebuild. These are the things that we need to care more for. There's that, naming it for yourself. And then once you do that, now you're sharing it and you're naming it for other people. And there can be some real discomfort in that, right? Sometimes people don't want to hear it, or they don't believe it. Or it can be, people can say, well, are you sure? Because I don't see it that way, right? So that can be a challenge. And meeting people where they are, being clear about what you're seeing or what you're hearing, and then helping others, those that you need to get there, those stakeholders, those people that you need to co-design with you. That's one thing as well. And then when you're thinking about the other thing that can be difficult is really making that movement. I've said before, and I've lived, a lot of times you don't win on merit, you win on momentum. So something might be very logical and make a whole lot of sense, but if it doesn't move, you're not going to get very far. So it's really important to invest in the things that will move, gain traction and momentum. And then through that, you can help others to, come along after you've gotten some successes.
And in a lot of cases, that also leads to buy-in, because people get to really see that, we're not investing our time and resources in something that will not yield any returns whatsoever, right? And so, that momentum really plays that role. It really ties into the other question that just came to mind about building trust, right? So when you are, and we're going to talk a little bit about your business next, but as you think about your journey to actually building trust in this space, right? As you were going through that period of change and transformation, trying to bring your vision to life and get people aligned to that vision, what were some of the things that you did to help build trust with the people that you're working with, which would be very similar to you as you start and launch and grow your business? It's how do you get people to actually believe and trust in this vision enough to be able to say, yes, I'm going to work with you on this journey to making it a reality? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, trust is so important. First, building trust is people can see when you might not trust yourself. Trusting yourself is number one.
So good.
That is authenticity. As leaders, as executive leaders, many of us get very good at a real good talk track. I can give a speech like nobody's business, right? And people can see through when you really don't believe what you're saying. And I don't mean, there's a difference between not having all the answers and uncertain, like, there might be a few different paths. There's a difference between that and literally just saying what sounds good.
Yeah.
And people can see through that. So first, people have to see that you really believe in what you're saying. And I don't say things or offer a vision that I can't see. That's just it. And I know it resonates when I have people say, wow, I can tell you really believe in that. Well, yes. And they know that if I'm saying it, I believe it. So that's number one. The other thing is being able to show and prove. And that is, I do what I say I'm going to do. Big believer of that. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do my very best to do what I say I'm going to do. And that consistency, and people know that you're reliable, and that you're going to do what you say you can do, or you're going to do everything you can to make sure it happens. That's huge. And the other thing is owning when something doesn't go wrong. And guess what? It's okay. Yeah. It's okay when things don't go wrong. And that is something that is also a learned behavior. Yeah. And also something that can be very uncomfortable. So when I make a mistake or a misstep, being honest about it, and also giving my teams the space to make mistakes and leading through mistakes. And doing those three things is huge for trust. Huge.
Wow. Really, really profound. Really, really profound. I appreciate you sharing that, because that's one of the most difficult things when trying to bring your vision to life in collaboration with people. Because I always believe that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. And what you've just shared is very important for people that are looking to go far and that need people to join them in this journey to making it a reality. That this is how you do it, right? These principles are things that we definitely need to keep in mind as we go through the journey of turning a vision a reality. Melina, you decided to start your own business. And another moment of building. There's something about you and building, there's just something. And to me, I think at this point, there comes a point in your life where you do things consistently over time, and it almost, in most cases, just becomes a calling, right? Where there has to be a time when you're sat back and asked yourself, why am I always in this situation or presented with these types of opportunities where I have to be placed with the responsibility to respond in this way, right? Building, being the response, right? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah. It's my happy place. I'm a firm believer that you really attract, right? You attract what you're aligned with. And I always have. I love building things. I'm a creator. I'm a builder. I also don't fix what doesn't need fixing. Right? I think, I'm not easily distracted by if it's working, great. Looks good. Let's keep that moving. Because then that provides the space to build or rebuild where it's necessary. But it's interesting with launching my own firm, and that this is where it goes back to giving myself permission to I've done a lot of leading inside of other organizations. And that has been really fulfilling, and I'm very intentional about opportunities that I believe will be fulfilling, where I can grow and where I can learn, and where I can also lead and offer my expertise in what I do know, really to help others and help organizations be the best that they can be. And through my own firm and building that, I'm able to design work that gives me space to create, to vision on my own terms, which is all very, very important to me. I know I mention autonomy a lot. I have always been that. Even very early in my career, I found ways to either create or leverage autonomy. So that's been really important. So building what I believe is a discipline for me, and allowing my values to show up day to day, and where I'm not simply doing the things that an organization might need me to do at the time, but really partnering with others to offer what I can to help them realize their vision as a leader and in their organizations. So it's really exciting to me to be able to do that.
Two questions. One is, tell us a little bit more on a macro level what your business is about, what services you offer, and two, what you believe about this business. Why should anyone be interested in working with you?
Yeah, that's a great one. Thank you for this opportunity to do a little self-promo here. What I really focus on is helping leaders who are facing complexity, whether it's reorganization or policy complexities, systems, whether that's in systems, meaning processes or tools, who are facing some of that complexity, that risk, and really helping them lead through that. Really coming in to give frameworks and strategies that I have lived that have been really helpful and have worked, but really tailoring it and curating it to those leaders and those organizations to help them move through something sticky, move through what feels like it might be stuck, in a way that really is going to have impact. And really help the organization and the people grow. And so I do that through strategic sprints. So really focusing on one issue, tackling it, and also through bringing workshops. So bringing some strategy and thought, and in those workshops, really turning that theory and strategy into things that they can actually action on. And so this really feeds not only my expertise, but my excitement around taking something, an issue, a challenge, and really doubling down on it, really focusing in on it and being intentional about how to address it, or building a system, or building the tools, or empowering the people to address it both more immediately or in the long term. And so that's been really exciting. I've had the opportunity in the past few years to do that, just through my networks and colleagues who know a little bit tangentially about what I do, right?
Yeah.
And then, there was a philanthropic organization who was having a challenge with their bylaws and their governance, and they're like, "Can you take a look at this?" Right? And so I did, and it was really exciting, just to give them some strategies and tools. And so really just putting a few more boundaries around that, and being intentional about how I can offer that support and partnership.
The beauty about the work that you're doing is that you've lived this, right? Like, you have done this for various organizations, even most recently, as the CFO of AmeriCorps. And I was honored to be part of that in some way as well, and actually see your vision and see you work tirelessly to make it a reality, and seeing the transformation and impact it had within the organization. I'm excited to see what other businesses, other organizations that would benefit from the services that you offer. Help me understand what, as you see the future of your business. And as you think about some of the principles that you talked about, what direction you see yourself taking this business, and also what challenges you might have faced really launching this business, because just like your other roles where you've built systems and gained clarity on the vision and direction you want for those organizations, now you get to do that for yourself and for your business as well. How is that different, right? Doing that for a different organization versus doing that for your business. This is going to be helpful for people that are starting their own business. They have a vision. They have always worked, right, for another organization, but now they get to do it for themselves. There is always a difference, right? And I'm curious to see from your perspective how that is different and how you're navigating those differences, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. So as I've mentioned, I've always found excitement and fulfilling in working for organizations, within organizations, because it's typically either they know, they have an issue, and again, I'm attracted to, and I align with organizations who are facing, sort of either a complex environment, or they're looking to manage through a transformation or a change, and bringing my expertise in to help them do that. I really do enjoy that. When it comes to the Brookshire Advisory Group and doing it on my own, that has become a space where I am able to really offer more thought leadership.
I see.
Really offer questions and ideas, via a platform that it might not be something that an organization I'm working for or with is working through.
Yeah.
But through my lived experience and through things that I've seen that work or don't work, I'm able to offer that as part of the discussion. In our space, right? In that space of strategy, risk, and finance, I'm able to offer it as a conversation. It also provides an opportunity for me to share my lived experience, my expertise, strategies, and frameworks more broadly, so they can have a broader impact. So not just within the organization that I'm working with, but also sharing that so that others may leverage or others may grow from it. So that has been really exciting. And that's where I see the value, because it helps to multiply when I share an article, or join a podcast or do a workshop. Others are able to take what I'm sharing, the parts that resonate with them or work for them, and use that to build on. So the multiplying factor of being able to share is really important. I believe that, we learn and we grow to help others learn and grow. And so it's a platform by which I'm able to do that.
Your personal vision statement is alignment beats hustle. Can you unpack that?
Yes. We can spend a lot of time, hours and days, putting in effort and time and work in something that is not quite aligned with our gifts, with our talents, with the resources that we have, with our own capacity. And that is not only draining, but it can be very harmful. And sometimes the hustle can take you down paths and places where there's just not that alignment. But when you are able to have an opportunity, again, whether that's working with or in an organization or building something of your own, you're able to do something that really aligns, in my case, with that young girl who didn't matter if I had the right shoes or the right dress. I was getting to the thing. I was going to go outside and enjoy myself and explore and be courageous, no matter what, because I knew in the end it would all be fine. And so when you're aligning to that, to who you really are, to the core, and when you're aligning with the gifts and the talents that you've been blessed with, through that, there's prosperity, multiplication, and there's fulfillment. So I really believe in that, and in that alignment, that's where the magic really happens.
What is one piece of advice you would give your younger self, and one encouragement you would give Melena Brookshire today?
That's good. I would definitely write more, journal more. I've had starts and fits over many years, and I've seen recently how impactful that can be, really writing down and being able to really see some of my thoughts and be reflective. That is one thing for sure. There's a stillness that comes. There's a clarity that comes in that. I'm very visual. I'm very verbal. and that has served me well. That has only gotten better in my reflecting and journaling and being very thoughtful about my thoughts. And the other thing would really be to really have an awareness of the present. And for many of us who are, quite ambitious and are visioners, I have a natural tendency to look beyond. It is something that I work through day to day to really embrace where I am today and celebrate the things that are happening now. And so that is something to spend more time in the present. It really helps to appreciate the visioning. But that is something that I do that I work on for sure. So those would be the things.
Got it. All right. Well, repeat and complete this sentence. I have a principled mind because.
I have a principled mind because it has led me to intentionally use my gifts and talents to inspire and bless others.
It takes a lot to realize what your talent is and to do whatever you need to do to ensure that you use that to drive change, to make an impact, to serve the society the way that you're doing, Milena. And a lot of the work that you do has been a huge inspiration, even for me, having worked with you before and having now standing on the sidelines, watching you soar and grow in all the things that you do. It's quite inspiring. And I'm hoping that someone has watched this episode or will watch this episode or listen to this episode and hopefully be inspired to invest time in gaining clarity on what their vision is and actually establishing systems to turn that into a reality. I truly believe that when a vision is being passed down to you, when you have a vision, in most cases, it's an assignment. And we have the responsibility as individuals and quite frankly, as spiritual beings, right, to pay attention to what we are hearing or what we think we're seeing or the trends that we see in our lives, because that could be indications of what our assignment is. And if we're given an assignment, we have the responsibility to actually take action. To your point, establish systems to turn that vision to reality, because our vision in some cases is not just for us, right? There's several people whom, as a result of us taking actions to bring this vision to reality, now have the permission to make theirs a reality, right? Or might be beneficiaries of the realization of our vision, right? Yeah. And it is very important for us to just keep that in mind. And I think that's why this conversation is important. And I think that's why your lived experiences that you've shared with us here is incredibly important. So thank you so much for taking the time to spend time with us and share your insights and the experiences with us here today.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Charles. Thank you for this platform. This is very exciting. And I do hope and trust that others who have listened or will listen will be inspired. So thank you. Thank you, Charles.
Absolutely. Where can people find you?
You can find me most actively on LinkedIn, Milena Brookshire. You can find me. And you can also visit my website, brookshireadvisory.com, if you want to learn more about what I'm doing there.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending time with me today and spending time with Milena Brookshire today, CEO and founder of Brookshire Advisory Group. If you have any questions whatsoever, you want to connect with her, feel free to reach out to her. The mediums she shared. If you have any questions specific to Eschaton Consulting, our sponsor today, or to the Principled Mind specifically, just feel free to shoot an email to us at principledmind@gmail.com. Have an amazing day, everyone. Take care. Thank you.